Hello dear listeners, welcome back to the Lawyers Talk channel of BLawyers Vietnam. My name is Duong Minh Tuyen and accompanying me is Miss Luu Thi Thu Thao. Nice to see everyone again on the podcast episode today. In this podcast episode, we will explore a new legal mechanism in Vietnam, the carbon credit market, an important tool to realizing Vietnam's commitment to net zero emissions by 2050.
Hello, Tuyen and dear listeners, I'm Thu Thao, and it's my pleasure to be here with you on today's episode. I hope the sharing in today's topic can help listeners have a more detailed and systematic perspective on the legal framework related to the carbon market in Vietnam, especially the regulation on the carbon credit market, which have recently drawn a great deal of attention from business community.
Currently, the carbon credit market is no longer just a theoretical concept. Vietnam is gradually building a legal framework and technical infrastructure to officially launch this market. However, many businesses are still unsure about how the market operates. So, Ms. Thao, could you explain why it is necessary for Vietnam to develop its own carbon market?
Of course, Tuyen, the carbon market is where transactions involving greenhouse gas emission, allowances, and carbon credits take place. This mechanism allows businesses to achieve emission reduction targets in more flexible, while also encourage technological innovation and green investment. For Vietnam, the development of this market also stems from the country's need to align with the international commitments, especially the European Union's carbon border adjustment mechanism, which will come effect into 2026. Has for many key export industries such as steel, cement, and aluminum to track their emission and be a part of carbon pricing system. This creates pressure for Vietnamese exporters, but also it serves as a strong incentive for countries to fast-track its domestic carbon market.
Thus, it can be felt as a strategic move. From a legal perspective, could you highlight the key regulations and legal documents that provide the foundation for the establishment of the carbon credit market in Vietnam?
As far as I know, the Vietnamese Prime Ministry recently issued the Decision 232 on 24 January 2025, approving the project of development of the carbon market in Vietnam. Alongside that, there is a draft decree on the domestic carbon trading platform being developed by the Ministry of Finance. Additionally, the legal foundation is built based on the Law on Environmental Protection 2020 and the Decree 6/2022, which provides guidance on mitigating greenhouse gas emission and developing the carbon market. This document has been and are creating the legal framework for the carbon market to officially operate in 2029.
Thank you, Ms. Thao. For many businesses, the carbon credit market may still sound unfamiliar, but essentially, here are two main types of goods being traded, including first, greenhouse gas emission allowance. The amount of emission that a country, organization, or individual is permitted to relieve within a specified period, measured in terms of carbon dioxide or carbon dioxide equivalent. And the second is carbon credit, which are generated from emission reduction projects, either domestically or internationally, such as under the Clean Development Mechanism, Joint Crediting Mechanism, or mechanism under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. In the previous episode of BLawyers Vietnam, we explored the legal framework surrounding the carbon credit and the carbon credit market in Vietnam up to 2023. So, Ms. Thao, could you share with us what the new legal developments or changes have taken place in Vietnam's legal framework since then?
The most significant change is the Vietnamese government has now outlined a detailed roadmap for development and implementation of the domestic carbon market in 3 periods. The first period is before June 2025. This period focuses on gradually building and completing the legal framework, infrastructure, as well as enhancing management capacity, operational organization needed to operate the carbon market in Vietnam. The second period from June 2025 to the end of the 2028. This is the pilot phase when domestic carbon trading platform will be operating on trial basis alongside continued improvement to the legal and technical system, and the final period from 2029. The carbon credit exchange will enter full official operation with further refinements to the regulation framework and continued capacity building. This seems a very specific and clear roadmap. So during the pilot phase from mid-2025 to the end of 2028, how exactly the trading platform operates and who will eligible to participate.
According to the project, participants in carbon credit market include those engaging in transactions and those supporting transactions. The participants in transactions will include: first, facility listed in the section and facility required to conduct the greenhouse gas inventory as specified by the Prime Minister, which are allocated greenhouse gas emission allowance. Second is organizations implementing programs or projects under the domestic carbon credit exchange offset mechanism, or implementing programs or projects under the international carbon credit exchange offset mechanism in accordance with the laws and international treaties to which Vietnam is a party. And the last is organization or individual eligible to participate in carbon credit investment and trading activities.
Thanks for that, Tuyen. As I understand, the term supporting entities had not yet been clearly defined in Vietnam's current legal system. However, the draft decree on the domestic carbon exchange does outline two important types of members: custodial members and trading members. They are considered essentially entities supporting the process through which business carry out the custody and trading of greenhouse gas emission allowances and carbon credits in Vietnam. So we can expect in the near future, the government will provide more detailed guidance on the functions and operational conditions of these supporting entities. Also, while the carbon market sounds promising, not every entity is automatically eligible to participate. So, Tuyen, could you share the conditions that greenhouse gas emitting facilities must meet in order to participate in the exchange?
That's exactly right, Ms. Thảo. While the carbon market presents exciting opportunity, participation doesn't come with strict requirements. Under the Law on Environmental Protection 2020, greenhouse gas emitting facility wishing to participate in transactions must meet the following conditions. First, emission of greenhouse gases must be within the allocated emission allowance. Second, in cases where there is a need to emit beyond the allocated allowance, additional allowance must be purchased through the market. And finally, if emissions are reduced or there is a surplus in the allocated emission allowance, the asset may be sold to other entities in need through the market. In addition, this facility may also participate in mechanisms or exchanging, auctioning, borrowing, surrendering, or offset transferring domestic and international carbon credit. So, Ms. Thảo, could you share how the extraction, settlement, and custody mechanism will work and whether they are similar to those in the stock market?
The carbon credit exchange in Vietnam operates based on the centralized custody system to ensure the transparency and security in transactions. Before being traded, greenhouse gas emission allowances and carbon credits must be deposited with the Vietnamese Security Dispersal and Clearing Operation through an electronic system, and whenever a certain amount of carbon credits is cancelled or withdrawn, the Ministry of Agriculture and Environment is responsible for notifying the public as per the regulations to keep the market balanced. If someone wants to trade, they will first need to open a deposit account with a clearing member, kind of opening a securities account before starting investing. The required documents will be carefully checked to ensure everything's accurate and compliant with the law, then sent over the Vietnamese Securities Depository Corporation to wrap things up.
Thank you for the detailed sharing from Ms. Thảo. I would like to add a bit more information. Transactions on the carbon credit trading platform will be conducted through both electronic agreements and regular ones. Greenhouse gas emission allowance and carbon credit, once confirmed by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, will each have a unique identification number for trading purpose. All payment transactions will be automatically processed by the system, ensuring that when the goods are transferred, the payment flows through qualified commercial banks at the same time. In addition, the exchange also limits that 1 unit of greenhouse gas emission allowance is equivalent to 1 ton of carbon dioxide equivalent, and 1 carbon credit is also equivalent to 1 ton of carbon dioxide equivalent. Carbon credit may allow to be converted into offset units for emission allowance.
Thank you for the insights, Ms. Tuyen. Dear listeners, we have just gone through the legal regulations related to the establishment and operation of the carbon credit exchange in Vietnam. I hope today's discussion will provide businesses, investors, and environmental experts with a legal basis to better prepare when participating in carbon market. Thank you all for tuning.
If you have any question or concern, please leave a comment below. Or for more information about BLawyers Vietnam, please feel free to visit our website, linked below the podcast screen of the Lawyers Talk. Goodbye and see you again.